I never liked the park. Not because it wasn't beautiful. It was. Seoul's City Park was a miracle of order and green against the suffocating steel of skyscrapers. The cherry blossoms bent their heavy heads that day, their petals drifting like pink snow, sticking on the wet ground after a faint drizzle. Couples held hands on the stone-paved paths, joggers ran with wireless earphones plugged in, and children screamed in laughter on the swings. But for me, it was too loud, too alive, too full of things I couldn't have. After my mother and sister died in that accident, laughter became a foreign sound. Even now, when it slipped into my ears, my chest ached as if I were breathing broken glass. And yet, I walked here every day. Not because I wanted to, but because I needed to breathe. To remind myself that the world had not ended with them. That I was still here, though most days I wished I wasn't. That day, my hands were buried in the pockets of my oversized hoodie. My hair was messy, black bangs hiding half my face, and my mask was pulled low to cover my lips. I didn't want eyes on me. I never did. I was an omega. That word alone marked me as prey in this society. Prey for alphas who saw my calm voice as weakness. Prey for betas who thought omegas existed only to please. And though I had been submissive, pathetically submissive, in the past, letting myself be used and discarded, that Jangwook was gone. Or so I told myself. Catch you. A small voice interrupted my thoughts. Tiny fingers tugged the hem of my hoodie, gripping it with surprising strength. I froze. I looked down. A little boy, no older than 6, maybe 7, grinned up at me. He had round cheeks, bright brown eyes, and soft black hair that curled at the edges. His tiny sneakers were worn from play. His jacket zipped crookedly, as though he had dressed himself. His lips spread in a triumphant smile, showing 2 missing front teeth. "Mummy, I caught you," he said again, breathless from running. My heart stopped. Mummy? For a second, my tongue was glued to the roof of my mouth. The word mummy was not casual in our world. Omegas, whether male or female, were often called that by pups. It was instinct, something deeply tied to scent and nurture. But me? I wasn't anyone's mummy. I opened my mouth, confused, ready to correct him. And then I heard it. Minhee. That voice. It rolled through the park like thunder. Deep, rough, commanding. The kind of voice that made every instinct in my omega body sit up in attention. My pulse leapt to my throat before I even turned around. The little boy, Minhee, brightened instantly. "Daddy." I turned, and my knees nearly buckled. He was there. Alpha Sunsuk. I had heard of him before. Everyone had. He wasn't just any alpha. He was the pack alpha. A man whose name was whispered in bars and offices, whose power stretched across half of Seoul's business and underworld. Fear followed him like a shadow. And now he stood a few steps away from me, towering, broad-shouldered, with a presence that made the air around us crackle. His dark suit clung perfectly to his tall frame, his tie loosened just enough to suggest a man both powerful and dangerous. His black hair was neatly styled, though the strands at his temples hinted at a man who didn't care to play pretty for anyone. His jaw was sharp, lips firm, and his eyes, God, his eyes. They were the color of onyx, but glowed with something molten when they locked on me. I froze. Why was a man like him here? Why was his sun tugging at my hoodie? Why was the earth suddenly tilting beneath my feet? "Daddy," Minhee said again, still holding on to me. I found Mummy. I wanted to scream. To tell the boy that I was not his mummy. That he must have been mistaken. That he should let go before the monster in a tailored suit reached us. But my throat locked. Alpha Sunsuk's gaze swept over me. From my messy hair to my trembling hands. He studied me as though I were prey caught in a trap. And yet, there was something else in his eyes. Something that froze me even more than fear. Possession. If there was one thing I hated most, it was being watched. But Alpha Sunsuk's eyes didn't just watch me. They stripped me. I tried to step back, but Minhee still held onto my hoodie, his tiny hand fisting the fabric like he was afraid I'd disappear. "Daddy, Mummy looks shy," the boy giggled, peeking between us. "She know he is blushing." I wasn't blushing. At least, I told myself I wasn't. My face was hot because of the sun, not because this terrifying alpha was staring at me like I was the last drop of water in a desert. "Let go," I whispered down at Minhee, trying to sound gentle. "You've made a mistake." "No mistake." That voice again. Low. Rough. Final. My head snapped up. Sunsuk was closer now. When had he moved? The space between us shrank in the blink of an eye, his scent wrapping around me like smoke, dark, rich, undeniably alpha. My knees weakened before I could steel myself. My throat went dry. I'm not his mother. You should take him. Sunsuk's lips curved, but it wasn't a smile. It was something darker, hungrier. He called you mummy. He's never called anyone that before. That doesn't mean. It means you belong. My chest tightened. The words slammed into me harder than a punch. Belong? No. No. I didn't belong anywhere. Not with him. Not with anyone. Still, I couldn't tear my gaze from his. My Omega instinct screamed at me to bow, to submit, to lower my head. But I clenched my fists and forced myself to stand straighter. I don't even know you, I said quietly, almost a whisper. You will. The way he said it made my stomach flip. Not a question. Not a hope. A promise. Minnie beamed up at me. See, Mummy? Daddy said yes. You're ours. Ours. I felt dizzy. I needed to run. To put distance between myself and this alpha who looked at me like I was already his. But when I tried to step back, Sunsuk's hand moved. Large. Warm. Firm. It closed around my wrist. I froze, the contact sending sparks up my arm. My pulse thudded in my ears. His grip wasn't cruel, but it was inescapable. Like a wolf's jaw holding its prey. Gentle enough not to break skin, but strong enough to warn what could happen if I tried to resist. You smell different, he murmured, leaning closer. His breath ghosted over my cheek. Not like the Omegas who throw themselves at me. Not like the ones who pretend to be strong. You smell like truth. I swallowed hard, trembling. Let me go. His eyes darkened. If I do, will you run? Yes. The word screamed inside my chest. But I couldn't say it. Because Minhee looked up at me with those innocent brown eyes, still holding onto my hoodie, like I was already part of his world. I need to go, I whispered. Sunsuk studied me for a long moment, then slowly released my wrist. But his gaze warned me. Freedom was temporary. Tomorrow, he said, voice calm but sharp as a blade. Dinner. With me. At my house. I blinked. What? It's not a request. My lips parted in shock. You can't just. Daddy. Minhee interrupted with a laugh, tugging my sleeve. Can Mummy come tonight instead? My heart nearly stopped. Sunsuk's lips curved again, this time into something dangerously close to a smile. His hand brushed against mine, deliberately slow, sending heat racing down my skin. Tonight, he corrected, eyes locked on me. If hell had a front gate, I was pretty sure I had just walked through it. The mansion loomed like something out of a nightmare, black steel gates, walls too high to climb, guards at the entrance. I'd seen Sunsuk's estate in gossip magazines before, whispered about in online forums. But being here in person was something else. Minhee skipped happily beside me, his little hand wrapped tightly around mine, tugging me forward as though I wasn't seconds away from collapsing. Mummy, hurry, he chirped. Daddy cooked dinner. I blinked. Daddy cooked. The boy giggled. Okay, maybe the chef cooked. But Daddy watched. I should have laughed. But my nerves were too raw, my chest too tight. My Omega instincts screamed warnings in every breath. Danger, danger, alpha territory. And yet, I followed the boy inside. The foyer was enormous. Crystal chandeliers glittered overhead, marble floors stretched under my sneakers, and paintings of wolves, literal wolves, lined the walls. The whole place smelled faintly of polished wood, leather, and alpha. Sunsuk was waiting. He stood at the end of the hallway, his suit jacket discarded, white shirt rolled up at the sleeves, veins prominent on his forearms. He looked less like a CEO and more like a predator who had dressed in human skin. Welcome home, he said simply. I froze. This isn't my home. His lips curved. It will be. Minnie tugged me forward. Daddy, can Mummy sit next to me? Sunsuk's gaze never left mine. Mummy will sit next to me. The air between us thickened. My chest burned as though the oxygen itself was laced with his pheromones. I gritted my teeth, trying to calm the trembling in my hands. At the dining table, Minhee chattered endlessly. He shoved food onto my plate, pushed juice toward me, even tried to spoon rice into my mouth at one point, making me sputter and laugh despite myself. Sunsuk watched all of it. Watched me. His eyes followed the curve of my lips when I laughed. The way my hand trembled when I held the chopsticks. The tiny scar near my wrist. He didn't miss a thing. You're thinner than I expected, he murmured when Minhee ran off to fetch a toy from the other room. Do you eat properly? I stiffened. That's none of your business. It's my business now. His voice was low, steady. You're mine. Heat shot through me. Anger, fear, confusion, everything tangled. Stop saying that. You don't even know me. You don't know what I've been through. His gaze softened, just barely. Then tell me. Let me know everything. I looked away, throat tight. I couldn't. I wouldn't bleed my scars open for him to see. Not when he could easily use them against me like every alpha before him. But before I could argue more, Sunsuk leaned across the table, his hand brushing against mine. It was like fire. My breath caught, my pulse raced, my body betraying me in the worst possible way. His eyes darkened as though he smelled my reaction. You feel it too, he said softly. Don't lie. I shook my head furiously, but when he leaned closer, close enough that our lips nearly touched, I didn't move. I couldn't. My body screamed to run, but my heart wanted to stay. Daddy. The sound of Minhee's voice shattered the moment. He came running back in, clutching a stuffed wolf in his tiny hands, and I nearly jumped a mile back from Sunsuk, my face burning. The alpha chuckled low in his chest, like he'd just confirmed something. But before the night ended, as I tried to leave, someone's voice stopped me at the gate. Jangwook. I froze. The man's face swam into view from the dark, older now, but unmistakable. The beta who had once used me. The one who had left me bleeding and broken years ago. My blood ran cold. What was he doing here? And worse, why was he looking at me like he had just found prey again? I froze at the voice. That beta's voice. Jangwook, he said again, a crooked smile pulling at his lips. His eyes roamed me with the same hunger I remembered from years ago, when I had been too weak, too submissive to say no. Every muscle in my body locked. My lungs burned as though I had forgotten how to breathe. The memories came like broken glass, dark rooms, rough hands, the stench of sweat and alcohol. Not again. Step back. Sunsuk's voice cut through the night like a blade. I jolted. He was behind me. His presence filled the space instantly, sharp and overwhelming. One step from him, and the beta stumbled back as though struck by invisible force. Alpha Sunsuk, the beta stammered. I didn't know he was yours. He's mine, Sunsuk said, his tone flat final. His hand slid around my waist, pulling me flush against him before I could react. His scent, thick and dominating, wrapped around me until the beta gagged and lowered his eyes. The words "he's mine" echoed inside me, louder than my heartbeat. I hated it. I needed it. The beta bowed quickly, muttered something, and disappeared into the dark. Only then did Sunsuk turn me in his arms. His hand gripped my chin firmly, tilting my face up until I had no choice but to meet his eyes. Who is he? He asked, voice dangerously calm. My lips trembled. No one. His eyes narrowed. Don't lie to me. I said he was no one. I snapped, the words bursting out before I could stop them. My chest heaved, my hands shaking, and yet I didn't pull away from his grip. Why do you care? Why do you keep? The rest of the sentence never left my mouth. Because he kissed me. His lips crashed against mine, fierce and hot, swallowing my words. My eyes widened, my body stiffened, but the heat, the heat, spread through me faster than fire. His hand cradled the back of my neck, firm, inescapable. The taste of him was intoxicating, his alpha scent filling every breath. I should have shoved him away. I should have screamed. But my fingers curled into his shirt instead, clutching it desperately, as though it were the only solid thing in my spinning world. When he finally pulled back, my lips tingled, swollen, my breath ragged. Don't test me, he murmured, his forehead pressing against mine. You're mine, Jangwook. I'll kill anyone who dares touch you. My chest tightened painfully. It wasn't supposed to feel like this. It wasn't supposed to feel safe. And yet, when Minhee came running out of the house, waving his stuffed wolf and shouting, Mummy, Daddy, come inside. I didn't move away from Sunsuk's arms. I couldn't. Later that night, when I finally gathered the courage to leave, his words chased me down the dark road. You can run, he had whispered against my ear, his voice sending shivers through me. But you'll never escape. Omegas don't escape alphas like me. And though I hated him for it, a part of me knew he was right. The next morning, I woke up certain that last night had been a fever dream. The kiss. The heat. The way my knees almost gave out when Sunsuk whispered in my ear. I buried my face into my pillow, groaning. I hated myself. I hated my body for responding to him, hated the flush that still burned my cheeks when I remembered how firm his hand had been at my waist. Ugh, Jangwook, you're pathetic, I muttered. But no amount of self-scolding could erase the truth. The alpha had gotten under my skin. When I went back to the park later that day, hoping the fresh air would clear my thoughts, Minhee found me first. Mummy. He crashed into me with his tiny arms, almost knocking me off balance. He hugged my legs tight, looking up at me with a grin that melted every icy wall around my heart. You came back. I smiled weakly. Minhee, you shouldn't call me that. But you are Mummy, he insisted, lips pouting. Daddy says so too. Daddy said you belong to us now. My stomach nodded. He what? A shadow fell over us. I didn't have to turn to know who it was. His presence pressed against my back like gravity itself. Sunsuk. Alpha, he corrected smoothly. Call me Alpha, if you won't call me yours yet. I spun to glare at him, but the words died in my throat. He wasn't in his suit today. Instead, he wore a simple black shirt stretched across his broad chest, veins prominent along his forearms as he crossed them. He looked less like a CEO and more like the wolf everyone whispered about. And his eyes, they were locked only on me. Why are you here? I demanded, though my voice came out weaker than intended. His lips curved. To make sure everyone knows you're mine. Before I could ask what that meant, he moved. He slipped his arm around my shoulders, pulling me flush against him in one smooth motion. I stiffened, my face heating, but Minhee squealed in delight. Mummy and Daddy, the boy cheered, clapping his hands. And then Sunsuk raised his voice, loud enough for every passerby in the park to hear. This Omega, he announced, his tone sharp and commanding, is under my protection. Anyone who dares touch him answers to me. The words fell like thunder. A few people turned their heads, others gasped. My stomach twisted into knots, my heart hammering so hard I thought I might faint. Are you insane? I hissed under my breath. You can't just declare things like that. Yes, I can. His gaze never wavered. I just did. That night, I found myself in his mansion again. I told myself I came because Minhee begged me. Because the boy clung to me and cried when I tried to leave. Because he looked at me like I was the only safe place in his small world. But deep down, I knew the truth. I came because of him. Because of Sunsuk. Because some dangerous, stupid part of me wanted more. Dinner blurred into laughter. Minhee smearing sauce on my cheek, me pretending to scold him, Sunsuk watching quietly, his lips twitching like he wanted to smile but wouldn't allow himself. Later, when Minhee fell asleep curled up with his stuffed wolf, Sunsuk led me to the balcony. The night air was cool, the city lights glowing faintly in the distance. Why me? I whispered, unable to hold the question any longer. You could have anyone. Why someone like me? His hand cupped my jaw, tilting my face toward his. Because you're not like anyone else. Because my son called you Mummy. Because the moment I saw you, I knew. Knew what? That you're mine. I should have pulled away. I should have run. But when his lips claimed mine again, harder, deeper than before, I melted. My fists curled into his shirt, my body arching against his, heat flooding every nerve. His tongue slid past my lips, tasting me, owning me, and I whimpered before I could stop myself. He carried me inside before I realized my feet had left the ground. His bedroom smelled like him, dark, intoxicating. He laid me on the sheets, his body caging mine, his eyes blazing. Say no, he growled softly. Say no, and I'll stop. My lips parted. The word trembled on my tongue. But it never came out. Instead, my hands reached for him. And that night, I learned what it meant to be claimed by an alpha. But just as dawn touched the curtains, the sound of shattering glass ripped me awake. Sunsuk shot up instantly, his body tense, his scent sharp with danger. Stay here, he ordered, his voice a deadly whisper. I clutched the blanket around me, my heart pounding as footsteps echoed through the mansion. And then, a familiar voice drifted from the hallway. Well, Jangwook, found yourself a new daddy, did you? My blood turned to ice. The beta from my past had come back. The moon was high, glowing softly over the city, spilling silver light across my bedroom floor. I sat by the window, knees drawn to my chest, watching the way the night wrapped around the world. For days, my mind had been chaos. Everything between Sunsuk and I had escalated so quickly, from misunderstandings to heated kisses, to that night when I nearly gave myself to him before panic made me retreat. But tonight, something was different. Wook. His deep voice vibrated against the door, steady but low, as though he knew I was listening with my entire being. I'm coming in. The door creaked open, and there he was, Alpha Sunsuk. Tall, broad, his black shirt unbuttoned halfway, as though he'd rushed here without caring about appearances. His eyes locked on me immediately, golden flecks glowing like a predator, who had found what he wanted. My throat went dry. I turned my gaze away, trying to appear strong, but my body betrayed me. My fingers trembled against my knees, my heart hammering loud enough that even a beta outside could have heard it. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said softly, walking closer. "But I can't keep pretending I don't feel it. This bond, it's eating me alive." His words struck a chord so deep I wanted to cry. I swallowed, struggling to find my voice. "You're dangerous, Sunsuk. You could break me like all the others." For the first time since I met him, I saw his expression falter. His jaw tightened, and pain flickered across his gaze. He knelt in front of me, so close our knees brushed. His scent wrapped around me, powerful, cedarwood and storm, yet softened with something warm that felt like home. "I will never hurt you. Do you hear me, Jangwook?" His hand rose, hovering inches from my cheek, hesitant for once. "You're not a toy. You're not a slave. You are my mate." The words froze time itself. My lips parted, my chest tightening until I couldn't breathe. "Mate." My voice cracked. "Yes," he whispered, finally cupping my face. "From the moment Minhee called you mummy, I knew. It wasn't just his innocence. It was fate, pointing me straight to you." Tears filled my eyes, blurring his strong features. I wanted to believe him, I truly did. But fear and hope fought inside me like fire and ice. "I'm broken," I choked out. "I can't give you what you deserve. I'm too." "Stop." His thumb brushed my trembling lips. "You think I want perfection? No. I want you, Jangwook. All of you. Your scars, your fears, your strength. Everything." I broke then. The tears spilled, hot and unrelenting. He pulled me into his chest, his arms crushing me to him as though he'd never let go. I sobbed into his shirt, and his hand stroked my hair, steady and comforting. And in that moment, I knew I couldn't resist him anymore. I lifted my face, and before doubt could whisper again, his lips claimed mine. Fierce, desperate, yet achingly gentle. My body melted, heat exploding in my veins as I clutched his shirt, dragging him closer. The kiss deepened, tongues brushing, breaths mingling. "Sunsuk." I gasped between kisses, my body arching when his hand slid down my back. "Say you're mine," he growled against my lips. I'm yours." The words tumbled out before I could stop them, my voice breaking, but true. A low growl rumbled from his chest, primal and possessive, and the bond between us ignited. My body trembled as sparks raced across my skin, my omega instincts screaming to submit, to belong to him. But this time, I wasn't powerless. I chose him. He carried me to the bed, laying me down with surprising care for someone so dominant. His lips trailed down my neck, finding the sensitive gland where an alpha could claim their omega forever. My breath hitched, every nerve alight. "Wook," he murmured, hovering there, his lips brushing the spot. "If I mark you, there's no going back. You'll be mine completely. Is that what you want?" Tears welled in my eyes again, but this time they weren't of pain, they were of joy, of release. I touched his face, smiling weakly. "Yes. Mark me." He didn't hesitate. His fangs sank gently into my skin, and white-hot fire blazed through me. My body arched, a cry tearing from my throat, but it wasn't pain, it was completion. My soul screamed with his, the mate bond snapping into place. He groaned, shuddering as though overwhelmed, before sealing the bite with a kiss. "Mine," he whispered. "Forever mine." And deep inside, I felt it too. He was mine. The morning after. I woke to sunlight filtering through the curtains, Sunsuk's arm wrapped around my waist. His chest rose and fell steadily against my back, his warmth enveloping me like a fortress. For the first time in years, I felt safe. Truly safe. "Mummy," a tiny voice squeaked, and my heart leapt. Minhee stood at the edge of the bed, his big eyes wide with excitement. "Daddy said you're my real mummy now." I blinked, flustered, glancing at Sunsuk. He smirked, still half asleep. "Yes, Minhee," he said in that husky morning voice. "He's ours now." The little boy squealed and jumped onto the bed, snuggling between us. His tiny hands clung to me, his face burying into my chest. My heart melted completely. And there, with Sunsuk's arm around me and Minhee cuddled to my side, I realized fate had finally given me what I thought I'd lost forever. A family. Months later, laughter filled the once-empty apartment. Minhee's toys scattered the living room, Sunsuk's jacket draped lazily over the couch, and me? I was in the kitchen, humming softly while making breakfast. "Wook," Sunsuk called from behind, wrapping his arms around me, his lips brushing my neck. His bite mark still tingled whenever he touched it, reminding me of that night. I smiled, stirring the pot. You're glowing. He kissed my cheek, his hand caressing my stomach. I froze, looking down at his hand. My heart raced. You know already? He smirked knowingly. Of course. My Omega is carrying our pup. Tears pricked my eyes again, but this time they were of pure joy. Minhee peeked from the hallway, grinning wide when he saw us. Mummy, is there really a baby? Yes, sweetheart, I said, pulling him into my arms. You're going to be a big brother. Minhee cheered, and Sunsuk pulled us both close, his eyes shining with pride. Hopeless and broken, that's who I had been. But now, in this little chaotic home filled with love, laughter, and family, I wasn't hopeless anymore. I was whole. I had found my alpha. I had found my son. I had found my happiness. And nothing in the world could take it away.